Hello and welcome to this episode of Trojan Poetry number 72. It was a mighty good year.
I can't believe it.
72 was a mighty good year.
Yeah, I wasn't around, but I'm sure it was.
I was 1872. I wasn't around.
Oh, yeah,
either.
well, that was a great year. Yeah. Now that you mention it.
All right, so this week I've chosen the poem. Mike has not read it. I've chosen a poem from a book called The Virginia State Colony for Epileptics and Feeble-Minded. And I first read about this book in the New York Times review. They had a review of the book, and I instantly was like, okay, this is the thing I need to read. And the basic premise, it's a series of poems, of course, that are based on different people, workers, patients, the Reverend at the Virginia State Colony for Epileptics and Feeble-Minded in 1935, 1936. So you really get like a broad spectrum of the different perspectives of the institution, if you will. And it's pretty, I'm going to say it's pretty grim. That might not come as a surprise to anybody. It's pretty grim, but everybody who talks about the book talks about how incredibly beautiful it is. And so like this review on the back, stitches together something undeniably beautiful out of immense pain and solitude, intelligent, intricate, fearless, relentlessly acute. So I mean, it's an amazing, I wanted to, when I read about it, I wanted to practice reading whole books of poems, right? Not just one poem at a time, but really try to find a book that was meant to coherently kind of work together as not a story, but, to give you an overall sense of maybe a place like
Spoon
this.
River-esque, perhaps.
Yes. But much darker.
Right, and that is a very specific topic, by the way.
Yeah.
Only between the months of January and September of those 2 years.
And when you look at the book, you see that it's very intricately constructed. There's lots of poems that have the same title, but there are slight variations. There are clearly themes that reoccur, and again, titles that reoccur that kind of help you understand the kind of rhythm or the pacing of it. And then there are some forms that reappear. And so I picked one from near the end of the book. It's called Oxygen. So Mike, there's your copy. So this is about a year and a half after the book kind of begins.
Okay.
And so here it is. We'll just dump you right into the
All right,
poem.
here we go.
Oxygen. One woman brings her baby to work, walks with him between the aisles of beds to be sure we are sleeping. She holds him close to her chest. Sometimes, if the night is calm, she will reach down, touch my hand as she passes, as if she has forgotten she does not believe I can sense it. Forgotten I was never anyone's child. Wrist, small, flawless place on my body, second home of my heartbeat. Infant, planet of heat, flawless animal, what I was meant to become. Air, thing that changes temperature, tells you when another body is near. So a number of things. I know you might need some time to digest it.
Can I ask you one quick question?
Of course.
I'm assuming this institution is no longer open.
Yes,
I mean,
I'm
this
sorry.
This was a.
Yes,
yeah.
I meant to say it's a real place that the author Molly McCully Brown grew up near.
Okay.
But by the time
so that was her interest in writing about it.
Yes,
Okay.
and she would drive by it or see it and everything. And by the time she was growing up, it had changed into like another institution of some sort, but it was still standing and still, of course, looming, right? These are massive structures on a lot of land, and parts of it falling into disrepair.
So she started imagining, obviously, what it must have been like.
Right,
Okay.
and I'm going to link to some interviews with her, and we'll talk a little bit more about her later. But what interested me instantly was the form, because it's kind of written like almost like a paragraph, kind of like prose poem, and then it's got these three parts.
Yeah, main points almost.
Right, and the elaboration on the word wrist, infant, and air. So it's from the point of view of a patient laying in bed, and one of the workers has brought her baby to work. So instantly you've already got this layering, right, of you're inside the mind of one of the people in the institution.
Right.
And I'm not sure institution is quite the right word, so I apologize if that's not the right word. Because it was used as a place to kind of dump people that were seen as, undesirable or as being in some way should not be part of society.
Well, before then it was asylum. And
Right.
there was Bedlam back in back in the day in England.
Right. And so you get the perspective, because the voice, it seems very reasonable, right? Because the voice of the poem seems like a reasonable person. So then you instantly think, well, why is this person in this place? And then you get to the part with the wrist and the infant and the heir, and things start to get more maybe confusing or more troubling.
Right.
Right. And I guess one of the lines that I question is actually in the prose, kind of the prose part, she says, she will reach down, touch my hand as she passes, as if she has forgotten she does not believe I can sense it. There's like a double negative in there.
Right, that was really confusing. I actually reread that a few times while you kept going when you were reading it out loud.
Yeah.
She has forgotten she does not believe I can sense it. So this woman,
The nurse.
the nurse feels that the patient is comatose, or what is not catatonic, maybe, or lobotomized or something like that, and so.
But she's forgotten. She does not believe she can sense it. So she thinks she can sense.
So for a moment, she feels like she's human, and she needs to be that human touch, right, as she goes by, or showing that she cares about her in that tiny little way.
But then it almost reverses. Forgotten, I was never anyone's child.
Right, and then it goes in the infant section, what I was meant to become.
Right.
Forgotten, I was never anyone's child. So, man.
It's like the speaker feels she was never an infant and was never anyone's child.
She was abandoned that completely, I mean, you wonder why someone would end up in the situation she's in.
Right.
But when you think of your childhood that way, oh my gosh, I mean, total neglect.
Right.
Maybe she was an orphan. Maybe she never knew her parents.
Right. And the fragility of the wrist segment there, small, flawless place in my body, second home of my heartbeat, right? Like
that description, because you think of the pulse.
Chilling.
I know. Well, I thought it was really beautiful. It stood out as just a great way to describe it. I mean, it's true.
Right. But when sandwiched between the immediately previous part that I was never anyone's child, and I was never an infant.
What I was meant to become. So she never became an infant. So what is she now? Right, I mean.
She never became a flawless animal. Like, an infant is a planet of flawless animal. What I was meant to become.
Right. Like a normal quote unquote person. Right. Right. Like this infant will have a normal quote unquote life probably. Right. Does it say he, the child will have a mother at least, right? And the thing that struck me about the infant line, planet of heat, it's almost like she's sensing by infrared, like I almost imagine like Predator, the old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Sorry, that's how I think. But anyway, but see, when it's looking out at people, that she is sensing by heat.
Well, and then the next
and that gives you a sense of how the mind is
working.
Well,
the next thing is the air. Right. Thing that changes temperature tells you when another body is near.
So is the patient blind, or just this is the way their mind works? Maybe they're catatonic in terms of, or they're they used to call it deaf, dumb, and blind. Right. Because of
being not able to speak.
Right. Because of being electroshock therapy or lobotomized or something like that.
So, I just thought this one poem kind of epitomizes the rest of the collection, where there's this unsettling normality, kind of juxtaposed with the kind of curious, troubling imagery, but there are these beautiful lines, and it all, like, I just keep envisioning like gray, like an old black and white film. And then I thought, unfortunately, of the American Horror Story Season 2 Asylum, which takes place in a like a really bad mental asylum with all kinds of other horrible stuff in the 50s. But that show was based partly on places like this, right? And just, the book. So, but you get the worker, right, who's bringing her child to work, maybe because she can't afford, evening or
night
babysitters,
care. Right.
And then you get the patients, and you get that interplay. So there's so many levels.
And what a place to bring your kid.
Right, right.
Bringing your infant to work. I mean, I have no idea, to be sure we are sleeping. And then in the next line it says, if the night is calm, she will reach down, which to me implied
the night's not always
sometimes,
calm,
that some of the patients get violent or loud.
Oh yeah, and
or,
there's plenty of
plenty of
other
that.
horrible things in here.
Yeah.
And you do get poems from the workers' perspectives as well.
Okay.
So
how
again,
they
it's this
see things,
panoply,
if you will,
of viewpoints and forms and intricately connected work. So it's really cool, and I'm so glad. I've had it for about a year, and I've been wanting to bring it in, but I just kind of, for some reason, wasn't doing it. But then I was like, no. Mm-hmm. So an interesting book, certainly not the feel-good book, but poetry doesn't obviously always have to do that, and it is, like I think it says, undeniably beautiful. Right.
And not everything in life is,
Right.
rainbows and unicorns.
Right.
So she's describing a reality that people lived in, and are still living in places.
Right. So maybe check it out. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join the conversation on YouTube or Twitter, or check out our website at trojanpoetrydgn.blogspot.com.